Hey, Coach, so excited you found us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and like. Second thing is make sure you go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. We have one-on-one calls, community, it's resources, it's everything that will take to become a better basketball coach. Less time, win more games. Let me help you do that from someone that's been a nationally ranked coach and done it for 30 plus years. Go over and check it out, teachhoops.com. Let's head off to the video.
All right, welcome to Coach Unplugged. Episode I have no idea what episode we're on. So a lot, Austin, a lot. I'm gonna have you kind of introduce yourself, Coach, and just kind of explain and go through your kind of basketball journey. I love always having a variety of coaches, and especially someone that's an assistant coach now, because it's a different perspective. I've got tons of questions that I'm going to ask, but why don't you walk us through your basketball journey, how you kind of got to the point, how you got into coaching, and how you get to the point where you're coaching right now. So introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, man, I don't know how far you want me to go back, but man,
as far as you want. Don't go back to when you were born, but yes, as far as you want.
And I was actually a really good wrestler growing up. I'm from Dumas, Texas, right? And wrestling's pretty big up there in the panhandle of Texas. And they've had a lot of success there. So a lot of kids grow up in the wrestling program and doing that. And I was kind of a late person into basketball, and even going into high school. And I really wasn't that good. I was on varsity my senior year. Was it? My high school basketball coach, really good guy. He's won multiple state championships there in Texas at the 1A to 3A level there in Texas. Since then, and he's always been a resource for me. But I just wasn't really very good, really, in high school at basketball, honestly. I went to Texas Tech there in Lubbock, and studied in lots of things. I was a philosophy or psychology major. I was a business major, and I finally decided I don't like any of this stuff. I like sports. My brother-in-law, he was a basketball coach.
So what is Tech known for? Like, what's their school known for? What is their, like, are they known for a specific thing? Like, people go to Tech rather than Texas for a reason, or is it geographical, or what?
Well, I could tell you what some people say.
Okay.
It could be considered a party school.
Tech is
kind of like Arizona State. I've always kind of seen like those two schools are the top party schools, but that wasn't me. That's not why I went there.
But it doesn't have like Wisconsin is a great engineering school. It's a great agricultural school. Obviously, that's where their Wisconsin ice cream is. Anyway, they have a whole thing on science of ice cream. Anyway, but
yeah,
is Tech known for something, or is it just, why is it called Texas Tech? Is it
it started off as Texas Technical College. Is what it was.
Okay.
And that's beyond my expertise of
okay.
why that is. But I just know that's how it started off. And
okay.
But they have a really big medical program now.
Okay.
I mean, it's really big.
Okay.
Here at Texas, their medical program.
And where is Texas Tech? Where is that located in the state?
That's in Lubbock.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So that's where I am now. So.
Okay. So, you're in town. Okay. So what happened when you graduated then?
Yeah. So I kind of helped my brother-in-law out a little bit in the summer, and I realized that this was really what I want to do. I like coaching basketball. This is something I actually enjoy. So I applied for a bunch of different jobs in the state, throughout the state, and as I was looking, I came across a wrestling job in my hometown, in Dumas. So I thought, why not? I'll go ahead and apply for it, just in case nothing else happens. And they ended up calling me back the very next day and asked me to come interview. Nobody else had called me back yet. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'll come interview. And I came and interviewed, and they offered me the job pretty much on the spot. Again, I didn't have any other calls from anywhere else. So I said, I guess I'm a wrestling coach. So And I lived at home there with my parents and saved money, and it was a pretty good gig there. But after a couple of years, I loved it. I loved the wrestling. They had tons of success. It was a lot of fun. And man, you just don't really know tough until you see some wrestlers, you know.
Oh, trust me, I know. Yeah, it's yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So you applied in the entire state of Texas?
Oh yeah, all over pretty much.
Okay, first of all, I've driven across Texas from east to west. Texas is a long freaking state. Like it's like driving from I tell people the only thing that's close is when you drive through Illinois. Like Illinois is long. Like when you go from north to south in Illinois, hell, you're just like it's the only thing that's come ever close to like, are we still in Texas? Are we still in
Right.
Texas? It's like
Yeah.
it's true. It is whoa. So that's like applying to 5 states, to be honest with you, in some respects.
That's fine. I've never thought about that. Yeah.
It is. It's like if you live on the East Coast and you like Washington or Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Maine, and it's like all those are so condensed, but Texas is so big. All right. So then what happened after the wrestling gig?
Yeah. So actually, when I got the job there in Dumas, the next day, the school I'm at right now, Lubbock Cooper, called me and asked if I wanted to interview, and I said, "I'm sorry, I already took a job." So that's kind of interesting there. But so I did wrestling for 2 years, and then I jumped over to the boys' side, and I was an assistant boys basketball for 3 years, and I really loved that. And then the girls' head job opened up, and I was really wanting to move up, and really felt like I was ready to do that. So I applied for that, and I was got the head job there for the girls basketball program in Dumas. I did that for 3 years. They had graduated 8 seniors when I took over, so pretty much everybody. So I mean, we had to start from scratch. We won 8 games my first year, and then 10, and then 15 my last year, and kind of tied for the district championship my last year.
And what was hard about doing that at that point in your coaching career? What was hard about that?
Oh man, well, first of all, it was my hometown, so I mean, there's some expectation there, and everybody knows you, and it's a blessing and a curse in some ways too, right? Because
right,
everybody does know who you are, and but it's also good because you know everybody. If you need something, it's easy to ask.
right.
Ask. But man, I made a lot of mistakes. Of course, being first year head coach, I'd be surprised if anybody didn't make a lot of mistakes. But
yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard. That's why I asked the question, because it's just hard to it's hard the first time. It's hard when you're just kind of, until you get thrown in the deep end, you don't know how to swim. Sometimes it's like, holy crud. All right, so you're there for 3 years. You were looks like you're pretty successful building a program. That's what happens. Hopefully you win more games each year. Then what?
Yeah, well, and so I ended up applying for another job, kind of just going to be a better basketball situation moving forward at a town pretty close by. Their coach had retired or was going to retire, and he called me up and said, "Hey, you need to come here. You need to apply for this job. You're going to get your kids all the time. You're going to get gym space, and all the sorts of things that we fight as head coaches." And it was a good, better teaching situation, and all sorts of things like that. So decided to go ahead and
what do you teach? Sorry to interrupt. What do you teach?
Oh, you did? World history.
World history. You teach AP World?
I've done some AP World. Right now I'm not doing. I'm just doing on level. They call it.
Yeah, regular. Yeah. And okay, so sorry for basketball coaches listening to this. This is the teacher talking to another teacher. When do you teach AP? When do you teach world history in high school? What year?
So right now we're freshmen. There's freshmen. When I was in Dumas, they taught it as sophomores.
Yeah, we teach it as sophomores.
They had that base of geography knowledge as freshmen.
Yeah.
You could get them as sophomores and teach them world history. Right now, get them in as freshmen. It's tough.
Yeah.
teach
Yeah,
them
just
geography.
just the reading part too and stuff. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. All right. Sorry. Let's get back to it. So, all right. So yeah. So what happened? So keep going. Keep going in that journey.
Yeah, so I applied for that job, and the coach actually unretired. That was right in 2020, in the midst of COVID, when that
Right.
all. So he got a little nervous. I think that he wasn't going to be able to, get what he wanted to get after
Right.
that, other jobs and stuff. So he unretired, and uh, so I couldn't apply for that job. But that just kind of opened the doors up for other stuff, and applied for another head job somewhere else. And then this job here at Lubbock Cooper opened up, and I just knew how successful they had been. And when it came across, me and my wife just had that real excited feeling of Lubbock.
Right.
We met here at college at Tech here in Lubbock. I spent a lot of time here, a lot of good memories here in Lubbock, and it just felt right,
Right.
and felt like something we needed to do. And I have two kids right now, a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So they
Ooh, yeah.
they were both 3 years younger then, and um, it felt like the right decision, and
Right.
I haven't regretted it one second. And I mean, it's been so much fun being here. It's been amazing.
Yeah. So sometimes it's gut. I tell people it's gut. You got to go with your gut on this stuff. Like, what is your gut saying to should you take it, should you not? Because I always get to ask that question. And it's like, the feeling is the best way to do it sometimes. You just kind of just know. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that feels good. That doesn't feel good, yeah, I just think that's what you got to kind of lean into that. What do you think the hardest part about being an assistant coach is?
Oh, I think it's really taking your ego out of it. Um,
Hmm.
you know, uh, Being a head coach too, I've got that perspective also. And you definitely have things you like, things you don't like, ways you like doing things, terminology you like to use. But you've got to push that to the side, because it's about the kids. And that's what we do it for. We want them to be successful. And um, you can't, if you show any of that, little doubt, right? Uh, the kids are going to jump all over it, and they feel it, and they're pretty smart.
Right, they are.
Pretty intuitive sometimes.
That's a teacher talking too. It's like if they see blood in the water, they're going to start circling.
Oh
Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
I always tell the young teachers, just remember, you know more than they did.
yeah,
You know more than they did. I don't care. There's exceptions to that rule, but not very often. Like, just fake it till you make it. But you gotta, yeah, it's how you handle yourself. So what's the hardest part? What's the hardest part about dealing with the players? Like, is there something specifically that as an assistant rather than a head you see as a difficulty or a plus for dealing with the players?
yeah. I think there's different ways you can interact with them, and each player kind of sometimes picks a coach, and that's not always the head coach that
Yeah,
they like
that is
with.
true. That is true. There's a bond. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. But you never want to. I think the hard thing kind of is sometimes towing the line between stepping over your boundary, of what you should say and shouldn't say. Or maybe a coach had told this kid, "Hey, we're not shooting that shot," or "We're not doing that. We're not making that pass, or we're not making that play, or we're not defending that kid like that. We're not helping off of this kid." And if you didn't know that, or maybe you didn't hear that conversation, or you weren't aware of that, and then you're trying to tell the kid, "Hey, this is what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to do this," and you're like, kids, "Well, coach told me to do this." Like, "Oh, yeah, do
It
that."
is. And that's what I tell young. That's what I tell coaches are coming in, especially initially, is you got to kind of sit back and watch.
Right.
From someone that was an assistant coach for 10 years before I got my head job. Because I know what I think, but I don't know what he thinks or she thinks. And I don't, like you said, I don't want to step on maybe they want to front the post and I think we should 3/4 the post, whatever. I got to
Right.
figure out. So we got to be reading out of the same book is basically what I'm saying. And if you want to be active, you want to be involved, you can bring energy. There's things you can do, but when you're getting down to the minutia, unless you sat and talked a lot of X's and O's, he's got to be really careful. I agree. Yeah. Is there, so this is a unique question I tend to ask. Is there a coaching failure? Is there a time where maybe you were outcoached? I can think of one I did last year.
Yeah.
That you could share to help another coach that's listening.
Man, it feels like they tend to happen early in the year.
Yeah, why is that? I know it's because we're not
Yeah.
sharp. I think. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Man, it's like we're trying to get. I just got this play in, or I just got this offense in, or this press break in, and then all of a sudden this team's doing something we haven't seen yet, and we just weren't prepared for. And like, well, yeah, I know, guys, we came in with this plan, and this is what we've seen, and they didn't do that. And it's being prepared for stuff like that. I think is important, but you just can't always be prepared, right? You just
You
can't.
can't. I'm telling you, I lost in a state finals. Team hadn't zoned the whole year. I had every tape all year. They hadn't zoned. And we got up a little bit and they zoned us. And we had a zone offense in and we've worked on it, but we didn't spend that week getting ready for zones because we worked on it,
Yeah.
but that wasn't our, and it's like it just threw us just enough. It's like you're right. You got to prepare because you don't know. It's a chess match. I agree. It's a chess match.
There's one specifically I can remember my first year coaching there in Dumas as head coach. We had a point guard. I think she was a sophomore at the time. Really good player. She ended up going and playing community college. And a team we were playing was one of the top 10 teams in 3A in Texas. And we went to their place, and they're a run and jump team, and really good run and jump team. Very athletic, especially for their level. They might have.
How do they run that? Was there a specific rule? Could you tell how they run it? Because there's so many different ways of running run and jump.
Right. I mean, they definitely want to try to influence you to the sideline. They kind of let you get in. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, they'd pressure you, but it wasn't just a strict denial. But they'd force you to the base, to the sideline. We'd try to clear them out, and that was successful early on. But then they just start. They said, you know what? If you're going to do that, we're just going to early trap, and they just started doubling her right off the catch. And she was really our primary ball handler. We didn't have many others that could really handle the ball much at all. And man, I just felt kind of lost. I'm gonna lie, and I felt pretty bad, and I had to apologize to her because I mean, you just almost left her out to dry. And
Right.
you got to beat it. I don't know what to tell you. You got to do it. And I've always kind of felt bad about that one. I've gotten better at stuff like that. But
I know, and we all have those. Especially if you coach long enough. It's like, oh, I wish I could go back to that one, and oh, I should have done this, and yeah, and that's part of it. If you don't have that, then I'd take up curling or read books or something, because then you're not reflecting on your coaching. I think you really have to do that. What would you tell your younger self? What would you tell your head coach self? What would you, if you could go in a time machine and talk to yourself before that first prep, what would you say? What would be your advice?
Oh man, I think I'd have to write a book for all of that, and then hope I'd read it. That's tough. There's oh man, so many things. I think probably the biggest thing is just to stick with something. We tried so many different things, and I knew that coming in, and try to be good at one thing.
And what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by you were trying? Dive into that more. What do you mean by that?
I think we came in trying to throw darts. Grab a handful of darts and throw at the target and see if anything sticks, right? And probably tried to do that a little too long, trying to figure out, is this what we need to do? is this what fits this team? Is this it? Is this it? Do we need to do this? And at some point, I just needed to pick one and go with it, and get better at it. And you never would. You don't want to beat a dead horse, right? You got to know
Right.
when to punt on things also. But you're never going to get good at anything just by doing
Right.
it.
It's such a fine line. That's such a fine line between, like, this year our offense wasn't doing it. We had to throw it out and revamp, and we were winning, but it just wasn't what it needed to be. Yes. And the hard part is, like, all of a sudden you'll have coaches that will run 6 offenses during the season. It's like, whoa, like, that's, come on.
Yeah.
You didn't do your off-season work at that point.
It makes it hard to scout, though. I'll tell you that.
It does
So
make.
I don't know what you're doing.
I know, and I do that. I do that more on the defensive end than I do on the offensive end. I'm gonna just throw stuff at you till something sticks, which I think works well, especially at the high school level. I think the multitude of things works well. If you could talk to one coach for an hour, alive and dead, who would it be, and what would you talk about?
Yeah.
I haven't asked that question in a long time.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Trying to think of some guys here.
You only get one.
Only get one. Okay. And one that's coming to mind is hard to get past Coach K. I mean, Coach Krzyzewski at Duke. He's won, and he's won in a lot of different ways, and I just think he'd be really cool to talk to. Actually, you know what? I take that. But does it have to be a basketball coach?
It doesn't.
No. Mike Leach. There you go. That's the one.
He died recently, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he just passed. Yeah, he was here. He's a head football coach at Texas Tech when I was in college.
He had a heart attack, right?
I think a brain.
Oh, brain thing. He was the funny guy on the Twitter all the time, right? He had those.
Oh man, he just had some of the best one-liners and best quotes, and I mean he was some good stuff. I mean, and not normal, not your regular coach speak,
Right.
So,
I know. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I've thought about this one for a long time. I almost, I don't know if it would even be about X's and O's if I only had an hour. I think I'd go back and talk to Naismith.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's talk about how you came up with this. Like, and then what do you see this and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. That would be a hard one. Coach is difficult because, I just think there's so many different levels too. It's like, do you go back and talk to Wooten? Like, do you talk to, would I talk to Hurley for an hour? If I could get Hurley in a room for an hour, it's just different because coaching at high school, and then, both of them are at prep school. So that's really different than being a public school coach.
Right.
So then would I want to talk, because if I'm thinking about my X's and O's, it's just Coach K is just in a different world than me.
Oh yeah.
Like, his X's and O's are going to be fine and is motivational, but you're dealing with an elite athlete. So I'm, dealing with the kid that just broke up with his girlfriend third hour, and it's like, now doesn't want to play basketball anymore or whatever it is, it's one of those things. What do you think the biggest change coming in the game is?
Well, right now, I mean, probably the free throw thing that just changed here in the NFHS, changed the rule on free throws.
I know that's weird. We're not implementing that in Wisconsin. No, because we play halves in Wisconsin.
Okay. Yeah.
So we play 2 18-minute halves. So we're not following the rules as it is. So no shot clock, 2 18-minute halves.
Yeah. And I don't know if it'll be as big of a change as some people think it might be. I think we'll adjust to it pretty quickly. But it's going to be more like it is in the women's.
Yeah. And what do you think that's going to do to the game?
Man, I've been over that a lot, and I think it will allow teams to pressure a little bit more. But it might kind of hurt some of the, your comeback opportunities at the end of the game. I think a lot of coaches are kind of afraid of that, but I kind of read some of the reasons why they had done it was maybe to prevent injuries on the free throw blockouts, to eliminate some of that. And I don't know. I haven't seen a bunch
Do you
of
have a
kids.
shot clock in Texas?
We do not. They've been throwing around the idea for a long time, actually. I know they've talked about implementing it in some test situations in some big school tournaments, 5A, 6A tournaments in certain places to test it out. But man, it's been a big fight for several years.
I'm not sure high school needs it. I'm just
Right.
not sure.
I mean, if you look at the time possessions, how long a team's holding the ball, it's not that long. So
It's not.
It's shot clock.
It's observational studies. People see these games that are like freakishly like 12 to 10. Those are not, those don't have, I've never seen one of those in our area, which is, one of the top 100 metropolitan areas in the country in Madison, and never seen one of them.
Right.
Never.
Say the team we lost to here in the state finals and the state semifinals 3 years ago, Frisco Liberty, and they're a team that they wanted to play it slow, and they probably had possessions that were over a minute long. And
Right.
I mean, if you left a kid open, that because they're not a shooter, they're going to hold it. And they're okay with being booed. They're okay with just waiting for you to mess up, waiting for you to get in. And they played a lot of their games in the 20s, especially 3 years ago. They've in the last couple of years, they've got some more scores, so they've played a little more up tempo. But this state final game was higher scoring than that. But yeah, lots of.
And again, I've said this, I don't really care that much about it, but here's my perspective on the shot clock is what makes high school basketball unique in the US is every style can work. If you don't like, what I'm saying? If you don't have a shot clock, I can go slow, I can go fast, I can run a motion, blah, 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 blah. It's like everyone's going to become the same. If it's a shot clock, the game style becomes the same all the time. And It's going to be like the college game. There's a reason people don't press anymore in the college game. There's a reason they don't they do specific act, because the game has become very similar. There's not a big difference between different opponents. That's the issue I have. It's like, why not leave something that's unique? Right. If I pull the ball out on you, then you should come get it.
Yeah, right.
If you're better than me, trust me, I've had some great teams with NBA guys on it. I've had some really good teams. If you'd have done that to those teams, we would have just blitzed you. We'd have come at you. We'd have made you shoot, and we'd have beat you.
Yep.
If you couldn't hold the ball on us. That's the thing is you got to be equal to hold the ball.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure you got to be superior, but you got to be definitely equal. What's one thing that you think you've learned in the last year about coaching?
I think one thing is probably that it's less about coaching. The players can win in a lot of different ways, and I think sometimes we lose perspective of having good players really does mean a lot, and investing in those players, and they can make a big difference. And sometimes you can do all the X's and O's you want, and there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, that's what a lot of this podcast and research and stuff we do is to figure out the X's and O's, or how to handle these situations and these kids and this and that. But sometimes you just have to have good kids and the right kids. Also,
I'm telling you, I tell people it's like making soup. It's like there's more than one way to make a good vegetable soup. You might add more onions. I might add more carrots. It's still going to taste good. I might put a little bit more salt in. You might put whatever it is, it's all, you can do it more than one way, but if you don't have the right ingredients, it doesn't matter. You
Right.
can't make chicken soup out of chicken, you know what. I want to keep this clean. It's true though. Like that's the reality of it. All right, coach, I'm gonna go through and do my I call it rapid fire. I'm gonna ask you a specific question. Doesn't have to be rapid, but I've got a bunch of questions I'm gonna ask real quick here. All right, what's your favorite type of basketball?
Ooh, man, I gotta say Baden. Probably the Baden basketballs. I like those.
Okay. One word to describe your ideal player.
Ooh, tough.
Okay. You go to one sporting event in the world free. What would you go to?
World Cup.
Your favorite pre or post game meal?
Ooh, I really like to just get a little tray of fruit before games. Kind of give the body something healthy to work on there.
You're the first coach in like 7 years to ever say that. So good for you.
I've done stuff. I've done pizza. I've done
good for you. Good for you. Good for you. What does your game day look like?
Game day look like? Oh, as far as like practice or pregame or just in general.
Game day look like?
Well, I usually have to teach day of, so I try
I'm
to
usually distracted when I tell people I'm usually distracted game day.
Yeah, I try to teach. Then we usually have a walkthrough, pretty simple shooting stuff, and then go through the couple sets and things like that we plan on running each game, and then get ready to go. It's not too complicated, pretty simple.
What's one thing you do to relax?
Ooh, I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, so I don't do a whole lot of relaxing.
Okay.
I kind of live for 8 o'clock, and that hour me and my wife get to watch TV. So that's probably
good.
It.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Do you have any superstitions?
Oh man. I'll say this last playoff run, I wore the same outfit every 7 games. So all 7 of them. So
that's
I watched it.
That's good. Do you have what's one coaching technique you think's important?
Coaching technique. I think terminology is really important. The way you say things, having a specific way of saying something and sticking with that. I think that's really important. I'm a big terminology person, so I really like having just short phrases, short snippets of stuff, on like PGC basketball, they're really big on, terminology and things like that stick in the kids' heads. And it may be silly, it may be dumb, we may feel uncomfortable saying it sometimes, but the kids buy into it and it gets normal for them. And I think it really helps them learn quickly.
Keep it simple. Describe your perfect human basketball player in 5 words or less.
Tough.
Doesn't have to be a sentence. Yes, tough. Okay.
Smart. Skilled. Integrity. There you go. I think that's
perfect. Yep. Best basketball player you have seen in person.
I've seen in person. I've been to San Antonio Spurs game. I watched Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker play. So in person, that's the best I've seen in person play. That just it's hard to pick one. I think they're playing the Lakers that game. So I say that I'm pretty sure they were. I think it was Kobe. Yeah, Kobe was phenomenal. I mean, he made a cross court pass from like one wing all the way to the other, and those NBA courts are big. I don't realize how big they are, and just fires that thing across on a dime, and pretty impressive.
Yeah. If you seen, you should go see Giannis play. It's just not
Yeah.
normal. He's not normal. Like, it's just like no human being should be like that tall and that skilled. It's just crazy. Best basketball player of all time.
Michael Jordan.
Okay. If you could only teach one skill at practice, what would you teach?
Shooting.
Shot clock, yes or no?
Oh, don't make me do that, Steve.
That's yes or no.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. If you could change one thing about the game, what would you change?
Ooh, that's tough.
I know. I'd get rid of the jump ball.
Jump ball.
I'd start visiting team gets the ball to start, alternating possessions.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because the jump ball is the dumbest thing ever because the officials are horrible at throwing the ball up because they don't practice it.
Yeah.
Horrible. We got to get rid of the jump ball.
Yeah. I mean, I love the charge call. So that's one that like popped in my head, but I just would like, it's just such a 50-50 call. It makes the game fun though. I mean, that's part of the excitement of it that you just.
Well, that's
know.
my next question. Charge. I'll jump in the next question. Charge circle, yes or no?
Yeah, it depends in the game. I'd say boys game, yes. Girls game, no.
Okay, that's fair. Yep. Best game you've seen in person.
Oh, person, that would be. Oh, man. Well, so I wasn't there in person, but I watched it this past year. We watched every minute of it on our phones. This team we played in the regional final, Lubbock Monterey, versus the other team we always play against, Amarillo High. I think it went into 5 overtimes, and that was right before.
Wow.
Yeah, times it was insane. It was nuts. I mean, kids hitting big shots, just in just about every overtime to tie it up. Just it was insane. That's. I wasn't there in person, but we watched every minute of it right before our playoff game, which is something we should not have been doing. And we tried to keep the girls to turn it off. Turn that off. We're not watching that.
Right.
But I was, of course, secretly watching every second of it.
What's up? Do you have a favorite quote or saying?
I was kind of thinking about this. There was, I don't know if you know Corey Close.
Yep.
She's at LA. She does
Yep.
that coaching corner, and man, she's got some good stuff. And there's one thing she said about being a teammate, and I've showed my teams that little thing about being a great teammate just about every year. She says there's 2 things that you need. There's alertness and selflessness. Right? A great teammate is alert. They know what their teammates need, and they know that one teammate might need one thing and another teammate needs something else, that it doesn't look the same for each teammate, that they're alert that there's things going on in their teammates' lives. They're alert that the coach, may coach each player differently as well. So that alertness is really important. And then selflessness, being a giver, not a taker. There's people that look at you and say, what can I give you? And then there's people that look and say, what can you give me? And being a great teammate is always being a giver. And those 2 things just have always really stuck with me.
Yeah, but it's a sign of a leader too. Leaders not only worry about themselves, but worry about others. Leaders do. They worry about others rather than just themselves. I agree. Best basketball coach of all time.
John Wooden.
Okay. You describe your coaching style in one word.
Even.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. I always end with this question. To the coaches out there, if you had to give them one bit of advice, just one thing as they're walking off into their coaching career, what would that bit of advice be?
Would be intentional. I think that's an important thing, and not just in coaching, in life. That's something I've had to learn in every aspect of my life, is being intentional, um, at home, in the classroom, and with coaching
Everything.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to be intentional with yourself. Taking care of yourself, also being intentional with that. And we take that for granted. Expect some things to just happen, or they'll take care of themselves. And then you look back and realize that it didn't take care of itself. So, man, I write stuff down all the time. I have to make notes. I have to set alarms. Some of them are very specific. And if you saw them, you'd say, "What the heck is that? What
I
does
know.
that mean?" That's just something I have to do.
I'll throw this in because I haven't talked about this one in a long time, but it's about people. It's about people. Everything is about people. Like
Yeah,
teaching is about people. Your relationships are about people. Coaching is about people. It's not about the out of bounds play that you're going to see on Twitter. Just being real. You need those. Don't get me wrong. I need to know some basic math to teach statistics, but it's about people. Do you want to be successful, in my opinion?
like that.
Yeah, Coach. Thank you so much for joining me. I love this. This was awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, so glad you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. Actually, if you did, subscribe and like, and then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.